Hello everyone, welcome to today's Knowledge webinar, Introduction to BIM 360 Design for Revit. Join Autodesk Technical Specialists as they guide you from project setup into basic workflows supported by BIM 360 Design. And in this webinar, they'll talk more about it, but they'll cover an intro to BIM 60, design collaboration for Revit, the interface, project administration, cloud work sharing, and more. So our presenter, Sam Galloway and Brenda Collin, are Autodesk Technical Specialists. And also, I want to show you quickly a product page found on the Knowledge website. This is the product page for Revit. You can find BIM 360 and the entire Autodesk line. Just a reminder that Knowledge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, and faster service. Find us at knowledge.com. And now, without further ado, I will share Brenda's screen if I'm correct. Take it away, Brenda.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm excited to present this webinar actually, and important to mention, if in case you missed some section of this webinar will be recorded. And also we are presenting this demo from home, so if you hear any background noise, please excuse us, like the bells from the church that you are listening now. So before starting, I would like to mention some housekeeping items. You joined this webinar listening through your computer audio system by default. You can change these as you need it. As Barbara was saying, please submit all your questions in the Q&A section, as we are two specialists that are here today to answer any questions that you have related to BIM 360. And okay, so let's get started with this. So I am Brenda Collin. I am a technical specialist here at Autodesk, and with me is Sam Galloway, that between the both of us will be presenting this webinar. The first portion will be some slides, and I will run these slides, and after that we will go through the live demo with Sam. Between the both of us, we have broad experience in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. So with that, let's go to our agenda. There are three main topics, four main sections today. First, we will discuss about the basics of BIM 360 for you to know some terminology or the benefits that it has for some roles or project stakeholders. We will discuss later, we will go through the product demo, and we will share with you some resources so you can start bookmarking these resources for you to continue learning, or if you are interested in BIM 360 design. And at the end, we will have a Q&A section where we will be responding all of your questions that you send through the Q&A chat. Okay, so with that, let's start with what is BIM 360 design and the basics of BIM 360 design. So BIM 360 design is our unified cloud platform. And what we're trying to do with BIM 360 is to actually have all the project stakeholders working together in one platform. This way we can start supporting informed decision making, because by digitizing and centralizing our information, we can start taking decisions based on that information. In a specific, BIM 360 design module is a module that allows our Revit users to actually start collaborating with a single Revit file, even if they are in multiple locations. So with this, it's possible to have your Revit file saved in BIM 360, that is our central location, and have multiple users co-authoring this Revit file. This makes the job easier for a PM or a BIM manager or other admins, because now they have all the information in just one place. The designers can save in there, like I was saying, their Revit models, civil 3D models, or Plan 3D, but also any other supporting project documentation, like specs, schedules, sketches, all of them together in BIM 360. So I was saying that it makes the job easier for these project managers and BIM managers, because now they have all the information in just one place. And at the end, this is a great solution for decision makers also and project owners, because they can go through an internet browser or a mobile app and start reviewing the model that the Revit users are working and any other supporting project documentation, anytime and anywhere with a mobile device. And before we start, I would like to mention some of the terminology. And this is important because you will listen these terms in the webinar and also in our web pages. So the first thing is a team space. So to start working in BIM 360, we actually ask you to create a team folder or a team space for each one of the teams that will be working with you. One example could be by trades or disciplines. It can be you have a folder for your architect, you have your folder for your MEP engineer or your structural engineer. In each one of these team spaces, the teams have their sets. So a set is those items that are selected in the Revit model, that it can be sheets, it can be views, it can be schedules that you want to be published via the cloud. And why we do this? Because you are a Revit user and you have your Revit model. But how do I share this Revit model with the rest of the stakeholders? So this is through the process of publishing. We are publishing the selected views and sheets to BIM 360. The other term that you will listen to is the package. So the packages are these containers where you can bundle the sets, all your sheets, views from your model, but also the supporting documents, like I was saying, the schedules or sketches. These packages is the way we start communicating and sharing our deliverables with other trades. Why we use these packages? Because if you are working with multiple trades, and each one of the trades has their own team folder, in that team folder, they have their central model. And you don't want to have access to that central model, or you don't want the structural engineer to have access to your architectural central model. So this is the way we can start communicating, through packages. And these packages are shared, and at the end, you can consume. This means, what is consume? Consume means that you are bringing a copy of the other trade or discipline model to your own team space. So if I am the architect, I can consume a package that was shared by the structural engineer without having access to their central model. It's just a copy. And at the end, we keep an archive of all the models that has been shared in these packages. And everyone that is working in the project have access to this shared space. But it's just an archive of all the versions that are in these packages. And how this collaboration starts. So now that we go through what is BIM 360, then we talk about the terminology. Now, how we start working with Revit and BIM 360 design to work in our models. So this process starts by, we have a Revit user that wants to start collaborating. So they have their model. They have their model in their computer and they want to upload this model in a central location so multiple users can start co-authoring that Revit file. Through the Revit Cloud Worksharing technology, we are able to upload this model to BIM 360, that is our central location, and actually start collaborating with the rest of my team members. The first time, you will be able to see in a mobile device a first view of the model. But later on in the process, these Revit users continue to working on the design and they start synchronizing their changes or they start saving their changes. In BIM 360, we keep track of every time a user synchronize or save changes. So you can always see exactly which is the version that maybe had a mistake and who was the user that saved that version. And at the end, these Revit users are ready with their design. They are able to publish, if you remember the term publish, via the cloud, the sets of sheets, drawings, schedules that they want to publish for the rest of the stakeholders to BIM 360. So the rest of the stakeholders can access through a mobile app. What we are trying to do here is to actually streamline the collaboration process that you can have easiest access anytime and anywhere with your Revit model, but also to streamline the design review process. You as a PM, you as a maybe decision maker, you don't need to have access to the Revit model just through the internet browser and through BIM 360. And at the end, because everyone is working on the same platform, we have, and all the disciplines are working in here, the structural engineer, the MEP engineer, the architect, or it also can be in a specific function within your company, let's say the architects and interior designers. But because everyone is working in here in just one platform, we have 3 methods of actually start collaborating in between trades. This will depend on the level of trust that you have with the other team that you're working or with whom you are working. So the first method that we have is the managed trust, and this is great, and this is the one that we actually advise you to use, because with the managed trust, each one of the disciplines have access to their own folder. They don't have access to the other folders. So if I am the architect, I have my own folder, and if I am MEP, I have my own folder, but we start linking files from other trades from our consume folder. Sam will explain you a little bit more in the demo how is the consume process, but I have to say this, in this consume folder, you will see a copy of the other trades model. You don't have actually access to their central model. The second method is the medium trust. In this medium trust, you start linking files from other trades through the share folder. Remember, in the share folder, we archive all those versions that has been shared through the packages. So you can start linking from that share folder. Everyone in your project has access to this share folder. And the third one is the high trust. And we actually see this with MEP engineers, that one of them is working on the mechanical, one of them is working on the electrical model, and a third one working on the plumbing model. For them, it makes sense to have live linking. This means to link directly from their central models and see their changes. Again, this will depend on the level of trust. And at the end, we have a BIM 360 desktop connector. And I say this because usually desktop connector is an interest for those non-Revit users that they need to have access to the information. And what is desktop connector? So desktop connector is our connector where you can start seeing the information from BIM 360, your information in the cloud, but directly in your Windows environment. You start connecting your Windows environment with your cloud. So directly in your Windows browser, you can start viewing, you can start opening, uploading, and downloading documents and save that directly in BIM 360. So in this diagram, we have a user that is a Revit user. Through the Revit Cloud Worksharing technology, that user is able to share this model. But he can also save any type of model through the desktop connector, and that will be in BIM 360. Or other user that probably is not a Revit user, just a PM, and that person wants to upload information, then it can go again through BIM, through the desktop connector, and we can see that directly visualized in the cloud. We can save through desktop connector Revit files, DWG files, TXT files, or IFC files. This is a great way to start connecting with your Windows environment. So with that, now I leave it to Sam so she can guide us through the demo.
Thank you, Brenda. I'm going to go over the software today, and I want everybody to just be on the lookout for some of those terms that Brenda was discussing earlier, because they are going to be new terms. Even if you're used to Revit, these are very much just for BIM 360 design. So you're going to be hearing me say them, and I'll try to point them out and explain them a little bit more as we're going on. So let's go ahead and get into the software. So when you first get into BIM 360 design, or when you first get to the website, it's going to ask you to sign in, and your sign in is actually going to be your Autodesk ID. So whatever your licenses are attached to when you're using something like Revit or AutoCAD, that's the same ID you're going to use whenever you're getting on BIM 360 design. So mine is going to be my Autodesk email, and I can tell it to go through and it'll connect me. What you'll see is that I actually am going to be the project admin, and I am under the Autodesk construction one right now. That's not the one I want to be on today. I'm going to change my account. These are different hubs, and these are ones that you've been invited to. So the one that me and Brenda actually work with the most is going to be this TS construction one. So this one actually has 520 projects. If we look over here to the right, you'll see that 510 are active and 10 are inactive. I always like to show this screen because I want to remind you that you have unlimited file storage when using BIM 360 design. So that means you can have as many projects, and your models can be as big as they need to be for what you're working on. The next thing I'd like to show is that you will be able to create your projects here by going to the Add button. And then from here, you'll be able to input your information. Here you can put the project name and the project type, and the only other thing you actually have to have filled out is the BIM 360 language. It's up to you if you want to fill out more. I like to fill out more because in some of the other modules for BIM 360 design, if you actually have the project address in there, it will show you what the weather is. So that way, if you're just trying to get knowledge about what's going on at your project. Once I hit save and continue, I'm actually going to go into my project admin. So up here at the top, I'm currently as account admin. That means I have access to the entire account. I can create projects, I can add members. This would be one person in your company, probably the person that is also the one who is responsible for assigning licenses. So that'll be who your account admin is. So like I said, when I hit save and continue, I'll then be brought to my project admin page. This page is where you're going to have, you could have multiple project admins, and you see here that we do. I was a BIM manager for quite some time. I know in my projects, I would not have allowed this many. The way I know who a project admin is because once they become a project admin, this little yellow gear shows up. So this is an Autodesk project, it's internal, and we want to have admins on there because if you are a project admin, you will be able to add different project members, you can add permissions. So again, this might not be something you want to give to everybody, but it is something that's available for maybe 1 or 2 people. Again, this will be something that you need to decide internally. From here, again, I have my permissions. I can also go in here to my services, and this is where I can create my teams. And if you remember, that was something that Brenda was talking about earlier. So if I go up here to project admin and I go into my design collaboration, which I'm going to open up right here, you're going to see that currently I do have a number of teams on here, okay? These are, you can assign people to these teams. So everyone who's an architect is going to be on the architecture team. Let me go back over here to admin, and you'll see that I do have design collaboration. And from here, you can add your teams. So if I want to come in here and I'm going to add fire protection. And what this does is it's actually going to create a folder for me under project files. So let me go into here. I'm in the same one here. So you'll see that I do have my models. I have my various folders. It looks like I already have a fire protection team. So let's just go with, let's try and add team again and just do a mechanical sub. I can't spell today. If I hit here under, this is where it's telling me that it's going to create my folders. Because my folders, as we saw here, are actually under my models tab, that's where I want to put my team. So I'm going to tell it to put my team here. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You can just put it under project files, which is the default. And I'm going to go ahead and tell it confirm. This is now going to add my team. And I did not hit the right button. I am not hitting anything today. Let's try that again. So we'll just put mech, and I'm having it under my models. I'm going to tell it add. Now it's going to add it to my teams. And we're going to see it show up over here. So there it is. And if we go over here to my design, you'll see it's also located here. So this is going to be the part of BIM 360 design where Brenda was talking about consuming models, and we'll get to that here momentarily. But let's go into document management first. So this is what I was talking about earlier. If I actually go in here and I have to reload it, you will see that my subcontractor folder is going to show up. So let's go ahead and go into my models. And right there is my sub model for mechanical. So this is where you're creating your teams. Within document management, you actually have plans and you have project files. And the way we like to look at this is that your project files is actually going to be where you are going to create, this is where your Revit files are going to be stored. So this is more internal collaboration. Whereas plans will be more external. This is where you're putting sheet files for people to review, where PMs can go and look at it. They maybe do not need the actual model, but they want to be able to see the sheets. So we'll throw the sheets in the plans view. While we're in here, we can go ahead and just take a look at what I was talking about. If we go in here, you'll see that right here is my Revit model, and this is the model that is the central file. So this is what people are uploading and saving to central. This is the location. Now, if I close this out, you're going to see that I currently have 41 versions. And this versions is actually in reference to how many times it's been published from Revit. So if we go back into our design collaboration, you will see that I have circles. And if I open this up, I'm actually going to have squares as well. So there they are. Your squares are going to be your publishes, whereas your circles are going to be your packages. So you can publish all you want, but it doesn't actually go to the external team until you get up here to the packages. And once the packages are put out, that's when people can then choose to consume them. So if we come in here and take a look, and let's go ahead and open this guy up, it will show me the model. And then I can also ask it to show me if any changes were made. And it looks like one change was made here to this wall. So what that means is there was a change, and now I can decide if I want to consume it. And what that is, again, it's going to be these circles. If the circles are filled in, that means they've already been consumed. But if the circles are white, as they are up here, that means that nobody's consumed it yet. So let's take a look at that one. And let's see if there's any changes to look at. And there were. It looks like there were some changes done to the ceiling. So this would be one where I would tell it I want to consume it. Once I consume it and go back in here to docs, this is where it will show up in this folder. And within this folder is where you're actually going to be linking your models. So that means You can do the live linking, like Brenda mentioned, where you're actually linking live to the other the consultants, or you can do it this way. I've talked to many architects and they really don't like the idea of live linking. And the reason I think that is because they have in progress work that they don't want to send to the MEP firms yet. So when I was at the architecture firm that I was the BIM manager at, I spent a lot of time working on this courthouse with one of the principals, and he actually wanted to change up what the bathroom was done. So we went down there and we did some design options, and it ended up that the area we had wasn't big enough. So if we had let that work be seen by the MEP guys, there's a possibility they would have started rerouting their plumbing and their mechanical, when in the end, that's not what we went with. So that means we wouldn't have actually made a package until we had worked all that out. So that's something to think about with in progress, is that maybe you don't want to share that with your external team members. So that's when you would do the shared model or the consumed, so they can see what you've done and then they consume it into their folder, and then that's what actually is going to be linked into their model that they're looking at. We also have over here under our, sorry about that, usually I have them in this order. The other thing that we like to point out whenever we are in docs is that if we come in here to architecture, and I'm going to go to my Revit dynamic sheets, which means these are sheets that were pulled directly from Revit. And what that means is if I go in here, all of these are live linked. So I can go through here pretty deep into it, and it'll take me to the next view. And I like to think about when I did work with those principals, they really wanted to be able to work with Revit, but they didn't understand it that well. So that means they could be in this view. And I know if they got to this view, they would be calling me and asking me, how do I get back to where I was just at? Well, BIM 360 Design makes that easy because you can actually go here and then you can go right to the second floor plan, and you can go right back to where everything started from. The other thing that you have here is that you do have markups and you have issues. Markups are just that. They're just going to be the clouds and notes. The thing with them, though, is they are not actionable. And we like to say that issues are, because if I come in here and I create an issue, which is the next one down, I can come in here and just place it, and then I can start filling it out. So I can say there was a design problem, oops, and I can say office square footage, and I can assign it to Brenda. I can come in here and choose a date. And then I can come in here and say that there was a design problem. Let's see here. Which one do we want to pick? We're going to say design change, and just say these two offices need to become one. And what will happen here is that as soon as I hit create, an email is going to be sent to Brenda, and it's going to tell her that an issue has been created that she's assigned to that must be fixed by February 13th. And she's going to be able to click on the link and it'll take her right here. Once she's done with it, she can then go into the issue and she can close it. She can also come back into the issue, get that back up. She can add attachments if she wants to, or she can write me a note and say, who told you that these offices need to be two? And then I can tell her it happened in an OAC meeting. So that's all things that can be done here within the plan sheets without ever having to get into Revit. You can have people that are maybe much higher in your company that don't really understand Revit, but they want to be able to see what's going on. They can do all that here. The only other thing I like to show here is I like to do a compare. And so I have version 1 and version 2, and I can compare those and see if any changes were made. And it doesn't look like any were, but what it would do is much like it did, it's saying there were some changes here. So what actually happened? So it looks like there was a change with the excuse me, with some of the elements, and they were all modified in some way. Because this is a Revit model, it can tell me exactly what happened, whereas if we were working with AutoCAD files, we can still do the changes. It just won't be able to give you the information on what are you actually looking at. But the good thing about this would be if you have a change and it's a small one and you can't see it real quick, this will allow you to quickly know that there was a modification that needs your attention. So that's what I like this one about. You can kind of think of it like a light table. If any of you remember what those were like, it'll just show you what has been modified. And if we are done looking at the software, we're going to go over some of the resources for our software, and Brenda's going to put these in our chat. So we have BIM 360 resources. This is going to give you information about where you can go to learn more about BIM 360, how you can get a trial. And then the next one is Learn BIM 360, and I actually use this one a lot. This will actually run you through tutorials to know how to use it. So both of these are really great resources for you. And now I'm going to kick it over to Brenda for some Q&A.
Thank you, Sam. We have some questions in here. The first question I have, what is the difference in between consume and publish?
So consuming is going to be when you are bringing that as part of your actual design, like you're bringing it so that it's copied into the folder, and that's what you're going to link into your actual project. A publish is something that's done from Revit, and the publish is putting it up onto the cloud, and that'll be when it becomes one of those squares that I was talking about earlier.
Okay, thank you. We have another one that says, how many modules BIM 360 has, and which module I need to start collaborating in my Revit model?
So if you purchase BIM 360 Design, you will actually have access to BIM 360 Docs and BIM 360 Design. There are several other modules that we didn't go through today, but those are, you only need BIM 360 Design because it gives you the access to BIM 360 Docs.
Okay, and as a personal experience in here, have you seen which type of companies you have seen that are using more BIM 360 Design for Revit right now with this situation of the pandemic?
We're actually seeing a lot of companies move to it, and the reason for that is because it is a way to allow people to work from home, and they can efficiently work on their Revit models. Whereas if you're doing a VPN, it can be much slower. So a lot of time is being saved by getting people on BIM 360 Design and allowing them to still stay at home.
Okay, that's actually great, right? To be working from home with our Revit models. Actually, if you remember the other day we made a test with our model, we were in different locations and it actually worked pretty fine.
Yes.
I have another question in here. All my users should have a BIM 360 Design license?
That really depends on, I mean, if you're talking about, it needs to be everybody that has Revit that's going to be work sharing on the models. As far as going in and just looking at sheets and things like that, they can just have BIM 360 Docs. That's something you need to probably reach out to your sales representatives and see which one would be the best.
Okay. So those are mainly all the questions that I have in here. Wait, I have one. If the architectural Revit model is updated, how does the structural engineer receive the change?
So that's going to go back to our consumed package again. So as long as they are on BIM 360 also, their model will be on the cloud. They'll publish it to the cloud, and then they'll create a package, and then you can consume it.
Okay, so once you consume it, it's now in your folder, so it will be updated, right, in the model of the architect that is linking the structural model that has been changed.
Right, it'll go into that consumed folder, and it'll overwrite what was there previously.
Okay. It says BIM 360 includes the work sharing. This one I can answer. Yeah, it is included in BIM 360 design, the cloud work sharing of your Revit models. It's saying here, once the architect has their model and then they share with the rest of the trades, does the architect needs to notify everyone, or is there a way to get notifications every time someone update a new package?
I'm not sure about that one, Brenda. Do you know?
Actually, the architect can upload this package and the rest of the users can subscribe. So they can define if they want to get notifications every time a new model or a new package has been shared in this design collaboration module. So that's the way all the trades get notified of a new package or a new model.
Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, so
great, ladies.
sorry?
Those were very useful answers. And what a great demo. Very, very helpful. Hopefully, a lot of people have their ideas clear out of this. So thank you so much. I will take the screen back just to show you again where you can find Revit and BIM 360 in all its various configuration. Just go to noveg.com because noveg.com you have all the choices. You don't have to, switch resellers. We have all Autodesk line and plugins. So check us out at noveg.com. Thank you so much for the great demo, ladies. It was really a pleasure having you on board for the first time. Looking forward to let people know about BIM 360. You can always talk to our experts. You can call Noveg at any time and get the process started to get this amazing solution for your collaboration. Thanks again, and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.